Hello and welcome to the Assessor Corsa Competizione Sim Series Season 3 Round 1 at Kyalami. We are back with the amateur split on this fine Friday with our new layout for Season 3, which means that we're going to have two different splits within each split. We have the Pro class and the Amateur class, which we'll be going through today with me, Gareth Ronther, and the help of Stefan Bunetix. How are you, Stefan?
Good evening, everyone. Happy to be here again to celebrate the launch of Season 3. I've been looking forward to this for a long time now. It feels like it has been ages. So really happy to be here with you, Gareth. All is fine, and I'm really looking forward to some amazing racing with the amateur split tonight.
Absolutely, yeah. Very excited to see what we're going to get. If I hide this, we can also see that we have some new what are they called? Like the exclamation mark things in the chat, right? You can type them in, you get stuff. We don't have all of these going. The Invitational has happened. That was a great fun at Kyalami. We had a 2.4 hour there to celebrate the end of the last split. But there's sign up if you want to get into the Discord. There's timing, which I believe should be running as Dan is racing today on our YouTube. We normally have live timing running there. Spotters, we don't have a spotters guide for this, that's for the Endurance Cup, but if you want to check out that for the Endurance Cup, the next round of which will be in 2 weeks on Silverstone, they are all the things we have going right now as we head into our new season. And let's start off with the track itself, Kyalami. What are your feelings on the track, Stefan?
Oh boy, I love Kyalami. It's one of my most, if not maybe the most favorite track, and that's only just because Imola was released and I'm enjoying this track also a lot. But Kyalami, you just have to love not only the setting of the track, but also the way how it kind of flows and how the track makes you feel. So I think it's the best track to start into the season tonight.
It's really good. This is the first time in our little rookie splits history that we are allowing the DLC tracks into our schedule. Not quite Imola yet, but I'm sure that will be coming in the near future. And so we have Kyalami and Suzuka, both in our split. Suzuki's a different thing. Both in our split this season. A slightly shorter one because we didn't want to get in the way of Christmas. So we're just having a 4-week calendar. As I've got to agree, Kyalami is a fantastic track. I had never driven Kyalami before now. I only vaguely knew about it because of Formula 1, and it instantly became one of my favorites. It's an absolutely fantastic track. I cannot wait to see some people get murdered by the second to last corner and to see some good racing.
The infamous sausage corner, yes. It really takes some I don't want to say big balls to go through it, but if you just don't hit the angle, don't estimate the apex, you just basically go flying off the track. And I have to say honestly that I did a lot of practice laps in the past weeks because interestingly enough, a lot of different leagues and servers are using Kyalami, and the track actually has, I would say, 2 important sections. It's like, as you said, the cheetah, the sausage corner is one important sector, and I think one of the, or let's say 3 important sections. I mean, the other important section is actually when you're approaching the uphill section where you have these hanging left-right corners, very, very tricky. And as well, I think it's T13 before you get into the cheetah section. It's also a corner where you can lose so much time when you just, are not positioning the car well to, turn it in late and take as much speed as you can until the cheetah corner. So it will be really interesting for me to see how the amateur split will handle the challenge of Kyalami tonight.
Absolutely. And moving on to talking about that specifically, we have here on the screen, I've brought up the list of participants that we have today and for the rest of this series in the amateur split on Friday. Getting the exact terminology is very tricky with all the different splits and tiers and such, but who are you interested in looking at overall in this event today?
I see quite some names that quite some people driving in there that I know. One example is Peter Nichols, who is like a big part of my community and my live stream. He's helping me there, and he's a really great and talented driver, so I will be keeping my eye on him. He's driving the Lexus, but I also see other names like Maninka is in there. And I'm just politely ignoring Dan Terry because everybody knows Dan Terry. So,
yep, of course, yeah, Dan Terry, our big boss, is in there in the Aston Martin V8 Vantage. And Antti Manika, as you said, a lot of returning names, people who we've seen before, people like Ollie Moss, Lewis Webb, but also a lot of new faces. So it's going to be exciting to see how some of these guys stack up. We've got a few fast boys in here. I believe Slow was reasonably fast last season, ironically. We've also seen Long setting some blistering times in the practice server, so it's going to be good to see a lot of these guys getting on with it. What do you think about the car selection that we have in this split for today?
I'm honestly, on one hand, surprised, but on the other hand, as we talked before, not really surprised that out of all the drivers which are currently on the server, to not see so many new 2020 Evo cars. We have like 43 drivers right now participating, and only I think 4 are using one of the new 2020 Evolution cars. So that's a bit surprising for me. I thought more people will opt in for the new Mercedes Evo car or the new Ferrari car.
Absolutely, yes. I definitely could have seen that happening. I myself have gone for one of the new cars. But, I mean, it is also a new version of 2 of my favourite cars in the game. So it was an easy pick for me. I know you also a big Mercedes man. Have you been driving the new Evo in your split?
Exactly. I'm a big Mercedes fan, but honestly, with the new car and the new Pirelli 2020 tire compound, I've been struggling with the car, and I think a lot of people have the same experience right now, that the new 2020 tire compound is simulated in such a different and detailed way that it's really a bit of a struggle and a bit of a challenge. So actually, I have opted for a car I feel more confident in, which is the Bentley.
Ah, lovely. You will be racing tomorrow in the silver split.
Exactly, and I'm absolutely hyped.
Yeah, make sure everybody that you tune in for that. I will also be there. Don't deserve to be there, but I couldn't race today for obvious reasons, so I'm going to be tootling around at the back of that series, having some fun. So come here when Dan Terry and Lars Kastrup, I believe. Oh no, it'll be Lars Kastrup and Paul Glover, I believe, are the 2 who are going to be here. So that's going to be very fun. Dan Terry will be back on Sunday. Saturday is his day off. So we are now coming up to the end of practice, and I think this is as good a time as any to hop into the game, as we can have a look and we can see what the times people have been doing in practice are. And Dan Terry, our big boss man, was up the top last time I looked, but he has been defeated by David Long, who is someone who I was talking to last night. He was in the practice server and setting some really fast times. I actually, when he was saying the times he was setting, I thought he was going to absolutely dominate in this field. But As you can see, we have the red and the white numbers for AM and Pro. And a lot of the AM boys are quite far up there, with David Long leading the way.
That's really surprising to see, and I really like how we are now differentiating between AM and Pro inside one whole league. I think that's a brilliant idea to get more drivers in, and for me it's also cool to kind of give drivers an opportunity to compete with maybe faster drivers, but also have the opportunity to learn from them. There's just so much you can learn by driving with guys that are maybe faster than you.
Absolutely. It was a good way to do multiple things at once. Firstly, like you said, it allows us to not have too many more splits, because we were already starting to run to our maximum of amount of splits that we felt like we could run properly and have stewarding for, which is very important, we think. It also allows more people to get points, which is something that a lot of people gave us feedback. But while also keeping the, you got to get top 10 to get points, which we think is really good fun. I personally really like having that cutoff point where it's like you've got to fight for the last point. And yeah, having this implemented by SGP now, we've got to always give a shout out to SGP, the guys who help us get this running and keep this going. Makes it so much better, because we had done this before in some off races, but not being able to see it in game really meant that it didn't quite work as well as we wanted it to. But as you say, it's really nice being able to see that now. Yeah,
absolutely big thanks to the guys from Sim Racing GP. They're just outdoing themselves, and they are so cooperative and so nice and open for all the ideas. So it's really amazing the stuff they do.
Yep, lots of stuff getting added, lots of stuff constantly coming up. As I remember to turn the sound on for ACC. Didn't want those cars revving in the background, but now that we're watching them going around, we can. We've got just a minute or so left of practice before we start going in. And one other thing we can talk about, which should be working. I haven't seen any obvious signs of it not working yet, and this seems to be an example of it working. We have custom liveries now in ACC, which I know, Boonatix, is something that you really care about.
Oh yes, I was already flicking through the field while you were talking, checking out how creative our drivers have been, and it's glorious. I really love what guys are doing with the tutorials and with the possibilities. There are some really outstanding cars out there, and for example, just if you take a look at currently P12, Mr. Morgan in the McLaren is just who doesn't love some really cool anime livery?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the guy we've been looking at. Very colourful. Big fan of the colourful. And we're hopefully going to catch a lot of good liveries throughout tonight. We had some good ones in the Solo Endurance Cup, which also allows custom liveries. Also, I hope that you guys are enjoying our new overlay for the stream. One of the feedback pieces that we kept getting here and there was that people were not a fan of the bar that we had at the bottom of the screen. And so now we have changed that. Big shout outs to Dan Terry for doing, obviously, the graphics work to get that happening.
I just have to say, one more thing, getting back to the custom liveries, it's one of the aspects of the game that was actually not intended by Kuno's Simulazioni, but one of the aspects as well where you can easily spend the most time with. And I keep constantly falling back into this, thinking like I should actually be on track, I should practice for my next race, but I just have to finish the custom livery.
Absolutely. I've definitely known some people in sim racing who spend far much more time making sure they look pretty when they get out on the track than being out on the track.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
We see a little bit of damage on the front of this this Aston we're looking at here. And Anti-Manika. I like the livery though. It's a really nice color theme. As we get into qualifying, here we go. So let's see who's going to be the first out.
Green Lambo.
Thank you, the FNZ. Thank you, everyone who subscribes and follows and such during the stream. We might not catch you all, but we appreciate each and every one of you helping us to afford our practice servers. Is the main thing that these go towards. We're going to sit on board with Daniel Durrett in this fantastic green Lamborghini for his first lap, as we do.
So, did we mention that we have like also a split qualifying session right now?
Ah, yes. That is a very good point, Stefan, and I hope hopefully Dan has explained that to everyone. He is in the chat, so he should be able to. We have 30 minutes of qualifying, but this will be split into two halves. Each will be the same 15-minute qualifying that we used to, starting off with the AM drivers and then the pro drivers. So these should be the slow guys getting out first, the faster guys getting the faster track at the end. So hopefully should bump them up a little bit more and keep our classes more combined with each other. People can obviously fight for overall position. Fighting for overall position is still fighting for position, and it's totally okay, and I'd love to see some people doing that. But you will also surely see some people at some points focusing more on their points and focusing on just their class battles as we come round past the sausage curb of death onto our first lap. Bunatix, would you like to talk us around this first lap?
Yeah, absolutely. I just need to get back into the car to have an easier time explaining that. It's just
in Daniel Durrett's Lamborghini as we come down to turn one.
Absolutely. So, interestingly enough, this is actually turn 2. Turn 1 is the kink to the right side, and the left-hander is actually turn 2, where you really need to position the car for the next upcoming section. So he's now through turn 2, and the combinations of 3 and 4 approaching one of the fast right-handers. And here you just basically gently tap the brakes, turn in the car, hug the inside curbs, and you want to take as much speed and as much momentum onto this very short straight, braking into the left, and goes unfortunately a little bit wide. So he's losing some speed there. Again, short straight, and then really just another gentle tap on the brakes. And here is the tricky section that I mentioned, where you want to have the car stabilized with a bit of throttle, playing with throttle a little bit to take all the speed uphill into the, I don't want to call it hairpin, but it's a very tight left-hander where you can easily lose control, and getting really close there with a Ferrari, actually. So good thinking of the Ferrari. Checking the mirrors, and then very fast downhill. And here's one of the most important sections, and brake to the outside, turn in late, and immediately on the throttle there. So if you get that right, you take a lot of speed, and can take also a lot of speed through the sausage corner. And you can really see Durrett also being a bit of scared of the big yellow sausage while he takes it on the straight. So
he definitely went a lot wider than you need to go past that sausage.
Yeah, absolutely. And Durrett puts in a 1:44.5. I would say that's actually a really, really good, well, let's call it amateur lap. I think he runs a nice pace already. And considering the few tiny bits of mistakes I saw here and there, he might be even in for some improvement there. So.
Yep, there's definitely time on the track for Daniel Durrett, but a good first lap time puts him at the top for now. Having some of his purple stolen, but you can see as people keep coming around, they're not quite taking it back yet. And another thing I want to mention about this track as a whole, I think this track fits to a bit of a sort of rule of track design that works really well, where you have sections of where you can't race, as Backmarker gets in his way there and just trips him up a little bit. Sections where you can't race into sections where you can race. And a lot of the best racetracks do this on different scales. Spa, you can say, is essentially just 2 big sections. The middle section where you can't race at all, you just got a hot lap around there essentially. And then the first and second sectors where you can get some overtaking done. And I think Kyalami does this very well. It's constantly a corner that you can't race through, but that is tricky and you need to carry some speed through, into a corner where you can make a move. And it makes for some really good racing because you can be constantly having a go. You don't need to sit behind someone for a whole lap. And there's always opportunities that don't get snuffed out or that aren't too hard to lead into.
Yeah, and the track actually has a really nice flow to it. If I think on back on other tracks, like for example Barcelona or Monza, where you have always these hard braking sectors and need to slow down and accelerate again, the flow of Kyalami is just amazing. Where basically you just have 1 or 2 or maybe 3 harder braking zones, and the rest is just carry as much speed and be as smooth as possible.
Absolutely, a lot of smoothness here helps a lot. It's something that I've been really lacking coming back to this and trying to get some practice, because there's a lot of points where you need to, accelerate as soon as possible, but you've got to make sure that you're not doing it in a way that will unsettle your car at all.
Yeah, the track actually is one of the tracks where I really had to learn playing with the throttle and not just let the car coast around and do its thing, but really try to stabilize the car by pushing and playing with your throttle and trying to carry as much momentum through the various sections onto the short straights.
Absolutely. So go ahead.
Chardonnay in the Porsche did now a really nice lap and is taking over the lead for now.
Absolutely fantastic. 1:44.3, reasonably close to the top times that we saw in practice, although not the absolute best, as Peter Hewitt improves that in the McLaren. Interesting looking McLaren livery there.
So we have the first amateur split driver who got below the 1:44. That was a really nice lap. And I'm just thinking back on Duret, who was really unfortunate running into a backmarker who did just not know where to position his car. So this is something we might see a bit more often because we have beginners in this split. Everybody is learning. So we might run into situations where one of the drivers just, has not the experience. He just lacks the experience of knowing what to do in the situation and maybe, reacting in a wrong way. So we might see a bit of tense situations today, although I'm hoping for a clean and smooth race for everyone.
Absolutely. Following Tom Tweedy on this second lap of his with absolutely fantastic livery. I'm big into this. I'm a large supporter of this right here. Coming in with the freezer livery. See how good his lap is. This is a big improvement on his lap. Should shoot him quite close up to the top, and he takes 4th right now. Just less than half a second behind the 1:43.9 of Peter Hewitt. So many new names to learn in this split as well.
Absolutely right. Yes, I'm just trying to remember anyone, but then I just remember, that's just a new amateur split. We got a lot of new drivers and a lot of fresh young blood coming in. So that's always cool to see where they are and how they will perform in the split.
Absolutely. And Tom has just started his next lap after setting his fastest lap so far. And he is already almost a second up coming through this. So he could go on to set a second lap in a row to improve on his time. And this could be really impressive if he manages to pull this off.
Yes, and he's losing a bit of time through this different sector right now. But if I see you right, we got a bunch of drivers now hard at work improving their own lap times. It looks like 8 or 9 drivers are currently in a positive delta trying to push and improve their position on the grid, which of course is kind of important right now because the AM split amateur drivers out on track right now probably are trying very hard to set a good time, because then the pro amateur split drivers are coming out. So you really want to position yourself as good as possible to not get pushed too far to the back.
Absolutely, and as you said, a lot of Tom's time has gone down, although a great exit out of the last corner is going to make it all back.
Incredible.
That was all gained in that last corner, ladies and gentlemen. He had a great first part of the track, lost it all on the second half, and then in that last corner, just a better exit from there. And the better exit from there is huge, and we're going to see a lot of this in the race as well, where a better exit from that corner is so big because it's a tricky one, and it sets you up for the longest straight on the lap into turn 1, 2, whatever you want to call it. So
Yes.
that one is going to be really big.
Yes, absolutely. You need to take as much momentum out of that corner, and me personally, it took a long time realizing that actually you can straighten the car very early and use a lot of the track limits on the right to just, push the pedal to the metal and straighten the car and just pull out of the corner with all the speed that you can manage to make up all the time that you maybe lost. And Tom Tweedy did a really good display of how you do it right now.
Yes. Fantastic. Hopefully he can keep that up consistently as we watch Bruce Hopkins coming to the end of his lap right now, about to set a big improvement on his time. Currently sitting right at the back. Is going to be hopping up. Didn't get the best exit out of the end, but will jump himself up slightly further. And coming to the end of qualifying now for our AM split drivers.
I think we got like 3 minutes left, so possibly one quick lap if you go out now, but
yeah, and very few people on the track right now gaining lap time, so doesn't look like we're going to see any huge changes too much yet, as actually Daniel Durrett, the driver who we started this session off with, makes one of the final improvements of the day, getting all of that near the end of the lap, jumping up to 4th position.
Yeah, he finally got some clear air ahead to do a really good lap, and nice. He also got below the 44, so as far as I can see right now, we have 4 drivers who got below the 144 benchmark.
Absolutely, very good to see. Didn't see too many up this high in our practice, but it's going to be interesting to see now how many of the pro guys in here can beat that.
And we got a question in chat asking if we have a full grid, a full session. I think 50 spots were available, and right now we have 44 on the server, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So nearly full, which is really amazing to see, and having 44 drivers out on track at the start, I cannot wait. I'm really looking forward to the start.
Don't normally like to use the unrealistic cams, but I think everyone wants to have a look at the anime car as we come across the line with Zach Morden. Who actually lost all of his time in that last corner, so we're not going to see anything too impressive from him.
Yeah, the only one I saw coming out of pits right now, basically nearly at the end of the split, is Hopkins, who is opting for... He's one of the few guys opting for the new Ferrari GT3 Evolution car that was just added in the DLC, so he's currently really at the back of the field. I'm kind of looking forward to what he can do if he manages to push.
Absolutely. Peter Huick and Zach Morgan both coming to their end of their laps with a positive delta so far. Such a tricky track that we see a lot of people on our readouts here jumping up and down on their relatives to their lap, because you can lose in game time really in every other corner.
Yes, that's quite easy, and unfortunately on his outlap, Hopkins just went really wide into the dirt, but let some drivers pass to get some clear air. So he will be... Well, it's close. I think they are allowed to do another final lap, because it's like just 12 seconds left right now.
I'm not exactly sure how these will work, but I'm sure Dan will be keeping them up to what they're allowed in the chat, so they will know better than us at least.
And there's just one driver without any time right now, which is car number 7, the Porsche Atkins. He did not set any lap time and just went out on track.
Everyone loving the Pringles livery as we see a load of our pro cars coming out now. Who is out first? That Ian Otley. Ian Otley seems like he is coming out first of the pros so far, so we're gonna sit with the Audi as these guys are going around to start their lap. I actually just want to... Oh no, they're not set in order, so we're just gonna sit with Ian Otley for a little bit. As the last of the AMs are still doing their last flying lap or in lap, we see the pros coming out on track.
And oh, there was nearly a crash with 4 cars going wide into the T1.
Oh.
Yeah. That was just caused by Atkins in the Porsche, who was the last amateur split driver doing his quick lap. And he just went back to the pits.
So we have Tom Tweedle, Peter Hewitt, Marco Jurek, Jacob Surison, Daniel Durrett, Zach Morgan, Kalpash Chowdhury, Mark Chandones, Mark Benson and Ray Birch taking up the top 10 positions of our amateur split amateur driver, our tier 6 crowd so far, which means that now it's time to see how our tier 5 amateur pros can do it. Handsome Lars add permitted term waifu. I don't know why waifu was caught by the Autobahn bot, but fair enough. I think we can safely allow that term.
So who was the first to go out on track? Did you catch that?
It is, I believe, Ian Otley. Ian Otley in the Audi, who I am sitting on board with now.
Yeah, so he's on his flying lap right now, yeah.
Yep. Coming around to this very fast sweeping right-hander, you just got to have a nice amount of patience before you go, and not enough patience there for Ian Otley as he goes wide.
That's one tricky thing with the new 2020 Pirelli tire compound. They need 2 or even 3 laps to be on temperature and grip up. So if you're already pushing too hard after your out lap, you are in trouble. So let's see if Griffel in the McLaren can do a better job on his flying lap. He looks to be settled in with the car. One of the few drivers going without a custom livery. So that's a nice surprise to see somebody using an in-game livery.
Yeah, we have a lot less in this, I believe. If you're a big fan of custom liveries, tomorrow is the day for you. Dan was saying that I, who am doing 2 splits, both the AM and Pro, have got about as many custom liveries to download as Lars has, and Lars is only doing Saturday. So a lot of artistes in the Saturday split.
Yes, I think the first thing we actually did in the Silver Split Discord channel, everybody was showing off the delivery and the car they have chosen. Nobody was talking about times. And here we go with Griffel over the line in P23 right now. So still warming up these tires. And surprising to me is actually that we have still Hüek in the McLaren in the lead, followed by Tweedy. Maninka was the first pro driver to squeeze in at the top, taking P3 at the moment. Haller P7, Crumpf P8, and Dan Terry seems to be holding back a little bit. He's in P10 right now. What's going on with Dan?
Dan was very happy in the practice server about his lap times, so we have told him that we are going to make sure to bully him if he doesn't match those high expectations he set for himself.
Let's see if he can improve his time right now. No, he's not improving. So yeah, it might be just the pressure, thinking about that he might be just shown on the live stream or not. So
every now and again, I just catch Senk on these liveries that I enjoy. Pepsi Max sponsored Mercedes.
So like a purple design, two colors that are just they just go hand in hand.
They do, yeah. It is quite a nice looking beast, that. As he goes and sets himself a decent lap time.
Yes.
Mark Turner there, putting himself into 11th.
Also, one of the few drivers using the new Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evolution car from the new DLC, so Mr. Turner is up for a challenge. Maninka just took P1, the Aston, with a 143.2, so we are getting closer to the benchmark of 142. So I'm really looking forward to if who will be the first one to basically smash the barrier.
Everyone in the chat hyping up Mini Maninka. Everyone big fan. Maninka, a name that we see a lot around here, mostly for Mika. But Antti has also been in this community the whole time and is a good friend to all of us. So everyone very excited to see them doing well.
I can absolutely understand. I'm always just, I don't know if it's the name, but every time I see Maninka, I'm like, hey, yeah, we are in for a show.
Yes, I've done a lot of racing in SGP with Mika, and he's one of the cleanest and friendliest drivers you ever get to race with, so very much enjoy it. Mainly when he's lapping me, unfortunately, but...
Turns into the chicane, right, left, right.
That's just such a nice thing about sim racing community for me. It's like the first, I'm sorry to say, gaming community that's so nice and where you can meet so many friendly and helpful and nice people every day. And since I started sim racing and got into different communities and racing leagues, I'm just astonished by the amount of helpful, friendly people out there. So huge shout out to every sim racer out there in chat watching the stream. You guys are awesome. You make this an incredible experience.
Absolutely, and big shout out to Frank Lucid, who's just come over with his gang of 17 sim lads to come watching us. Thank you for joining us. If you are new here to the AC Sim Series, we are a rookie league focused on Assetto Corsa Competizione, obviously. This is our amateur split of the third series of our championship. If you hit the exclamation mark sign up in chat, you can find a link to our Discord to come in and have some fun. Obviously, our first series, or this series is on the way, but we do some races on during the weekday. Tuesdays, we're going to have AC events. We have some community races on Wednesday. We have some endurance races, lots of good fun, and obviously we'll have Season 4 starting in the new year, 2021. This is the amateur split round 1 at Kyalami, and as we watch, we have both the pro and AMs of AM split, which is slightly confusing to say, but obviously pros in the white number, AMs in the reds. And we are at the second half of qualifying, which is for the pro drivers. So as Antti Maninka still keeps the top of the timetable so far, yes. Paul Krampf is now the second driver, getting another of the pro split drivers right up there.
And he's trying to push, but he got really close, nearly 1/10. Just splitting him from Maninka, so that was very, very, very close.
Absolutely, and we're still seeing a few green times going through in some of the early sectors, but not too many of them actually managing to make up that many places, it seems. We've got a very close split here between the two classes within here. So,
yeah, and I'm a bit surprised actually, because in free practice, the times or some of the top pace that was set in the practice was crazy fast. And it seems that the guys can't replicate that in qualifying. It just has to be the pressure of now you need to do it, and that's not as easy for everyone.
Absolutely. We're looking now at Dan Terry, who is running ACC Sim Series at the moment. He is running in 12th on the track. Hasn't been able to put in some of those great laps. We saw him. He's got the pressure now. He's been bragging about those fast laps he put in, and now he's stuck in the 144s, and we just saw him going wide. He's going to have to calm down and try that again. And it comes back to what you were talking about earlier, Stefan, where this is a track where you really need to have commitment through some of these corners, but you need patience as well. You need to know when to get on the throttle so that you're not pushing it too much. It's a track that I believe people yesterday were saying you definitely can lose time from overdriving.
Yes, absolutely, because if you are just pushing too hard, you will unsettle the car, and that will just cost you time through some of the very, very important and I don't want to call them tricky sections, but you definitely need to have a good feeling for your throttle.
Absolutely, and we've had a few changes in the leaderboard since we last looked. Paul Krampf has finally managed to get that extra time and has set the first 1 minute 42 of our session, only just over that threshold, as Ollie Moss takes the third position for the Pro Class boys.
I have to say, seeing a 142.9 in the amateur qualifying is huge. It's really huge. Thinking back at how long it took me when starting with sim racing and practicing Kyalami to even get to the 45 or 44s, that's just a huge accomplishment to see these times. I mean, that's just incredible and sets the bar very high for us tomorrow in the silver split.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm not getting that time. I can tell you that for anything right now. I would be down lower in this page right here if I was here. So big shout out to a lot of our fast guys in the AM split.
So I'm already excited about season 4. Actually, I'm already thinking about next year and having the influx of new drivers and new competitions into silver and possibly also the pro split. So yeah, we are basically finishing this year and this season with a amazing and exciting short season 3 to set us up for an even greater season 4. So there's so much to look forward to.
Absolutely, and I've got to give a big shout out now to Steve Slow, because I love that BMW livery. It's actually one of the in-game liveries, and I discovered it very very recently even, and I really like it. So I just want to shout it out. That's it. That's all. He leaves the pit to go on another lap.
And it's just great that he just keeps the German BMW flag high. I just love it when somebody takes the BMW, because it's such an, how to say that, basically underused, underdriven car. It has a lot of potential, but it's not easy to drive and not easy to master. But it's just such a great car when you get into it and just get used to how it behaves.
I feel like it is one of those cars, and I think this is quite common in sim games, is that the cars that are underused aren't necessarily the ones that are worse, but are the ones that are more extreme in either one way or the other. The cars that get used a lot are often the cars which have a sort of nice balance of where they're good. The Bimmer, big grunty boy, fast boy, great in those really fast corners. I think fantastic at tracks like Silverstone, where you're on high throttle a lot of the time, using a lot of that power. But in some of these slower corners, it can have be a little step out in lower gears. It can be a little bit more tricky. So good to see Bimmers more often. We have a nice spread of cars just looking on this page already, I can see a lot of the cars that we don't often see. We can see some Honda. We have a Nissan here.
And yeah, as Just Sucks said in the chat, only Niels Naujok's masters the BMW. I wouldn't say not only Niels, but I would have actually hoped for him inspiring other players to give it a try, because usually it is when you see, you know, people always look at the pro drivers and the aliens and the bigger YouTubers and streamers, what cars they are driving. And so I'm really surprised to not see more people picking the BMW.
Absolutely, being sponsored by G2, obviously guiding his choice of car.
Yes, as we see the BMW just flicking off some of the brake markers there.
Yes, hopefully no one was using those.
No, we have... so the qualifying is finished now, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people still out on track trying to improve their times.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like anyone's getting a huge improvement. Dan Terry's right on the bubble of just slightly improving his time here. But going off wide there, it doesn't look like he's going to quite make it. So these are going to be essentially our final times. Dan Terry unfortunately not managing to make the impressive times that he did in practice happen in qualifying. As
we
set a course
just a P1 below the 43s. So only Mr. Crumpf in the Ferrari got a 42.9.
Absolutely, Paul Crumpf. Incredible time. The first driver to get into 142. Antti Maninka, Ollie Moss, the next two pros, and then Tom Tweedle is the highest AM in 4th place overall. So these are your top 20 qualifiers. Sort of see all 20-ish. I'll give you a quick scroll down in case there are some people looking in here who are watching for one of their friends and want to see where their friends have come slightly further down. Interesting to see David Long so far down, as well as Steve Slow, both people who were incredibly fast in some of the practices I saw. So surprising to see them so low, not able to hook up a good lap time.
Yeah, with so many cars in the field, it might be really... I mean, Kyalami is not a short track, but it's also not one of the longest tracks. So it might have been just, you know, you get unlucky, you get involved in the back marker or somebody running off track or whatever, and you just can't put in a good lap.
I just want to quickly point out for chat as well, I do know that his name isn't Tweedle, but
it's just...
When he told me that people always call him Tweedle, I told him at that point, I was like, I'm gonna have to call you Tweedle now.
I just love that. Tweedle is just lovely.
It's so fantastic. It's a better name, if anything. I think you should change it.
Yeah, Tweedle the Needle. And yeah, as Simpson Riggs is pointing out, the AMs are doing really well. I'm impressed by these times. I mean, we have the top 12 drivers within a second. And for an amateur split, that to me is just incredible. That's really incredible.
Oh yeah, shout out to the Shingle brothers, who I believe are still in charge of setting up our splits. They have some sort of secret spreadsheet somewhere that tracks everyone's times that they've been doing in our Brands Hatch valuation races, and have been putting them together in splits. They've done, as you say, an incredible job, giving us once again a really close battle going on here.
Maybe they can give us an insight into their top secret sheet, because you just made me really curious.
I just about as much as Tom Tweedle annoys Tom Tweedy, this little lowercase I here is absolutely triggering ever loving hell out of me. That tiny little I.
It's just sticking out, right?
Yeah, I just notice it as I scroll up through everybody. It just catches my eye.
So the grid is forming up. Do you want to take flight and hover through the grid for us, Gareth?
Absolutely. I need to remember all of the buttons. It has been a while since I've had to do this.
Just push the button.
It is, I believe, Control F7 to no longer be tied to a car. And then it is one of these. Who knows the nameplates? Who knows the nameplates hotkey? So I don't press literally every key on my keyboard. There we go. I found it. Don't worry. Yeah, I found it. VVV. So at the front of our grid, we have Krampf in this red and gold Ferrari and Maninka in a very interesting Aston Martin livery. A lot of Aston Martins at the front of our field here as we go back to the second row with Moss and Tweedy. Tweedy in a fantastic livery. Loving the freezer there if he's in there. I'm loving also these black and green liveries that we've got here. Groundhoffner in the next car, in the Bentley, big old Bentley on that row with Honda just across him of Zurich. Walker in the first Porsche with another Aston Martin of Allen just behind him. And then we get the first Lexus, a car that dominated our last season. Surison in that with Durette from the amateur split in the green Lamborghini. Hearn then in the first of the McLarens, followed by Haler in the first of the Audis. And Morgan in his waifu livery, followed by Bradfield in a fantastic, I believe that's a default AMG livery. Big fan of that. Terry then in his Keep It Lit Racing Aston Martin, followed by Turner in a Mercedes. Nicole in another Lexus. Good to see that everyone's choosing the good Lexus livery this time, not the bad one. Van der Heck in an Aston Martin alongside him. Griffel and Ferdinand just behind, followed by Chowdhury, Chandonez, Benson and Burrick in another flashy Ferrari. Here, we got to go slow for these ones because everyone loves the Pringles livery. We've got Long in his weird, slightly Cthulhu Pringles livery, next to Slow in the psychedelic Bimmer. Wirch then in a very nice Nissan livery, big fan of that, and a Golf Porsche, very classic and classy there. Smeets in the Audi, Louis in another McLaren, Ferdinand's Otley, Herzert, Storm, Petrov, Smith, Adam, Bottomley in a very bright Porsche, Collins, Gray, Atkins, Hopkins, Webb, and Shurik to round out our grid. Which of those liveries is your favourite, Stefan? What are we thinking?
I just have to say that you muted yourself in the commentary booth with pressing the keyboards.
That's what happens when you click every hotkey on your keyboard. Luckily, that's all the stream heard me and you fine. So, which is your favorite livery, Stefan?
You just had to ask me that.
Absolutely,
that's so tricky. That's just really tricky. I'm really struggling between the Nissan one because it just looks like a real amazing race car livery, but I also like the Pringles Ferrari and the Anime McLaren. So, these are basically my top three. I don't want to pick my most favorite one because, I mean, you just gotta love the Pringles Ferrari.
Pringles Ferrari is a big fun. I'll definitely give you that. We'll pop down the grid to have a. Oh, and they're off. Too late for that.
Shout out to everyone who did a custom livery and who took the time to be creative and show his skills and his passion. So really shout out to everyone. You guys are doing an amazing job creating custom liveries.
Absolutely. We have got a lot of good ones on this grid. I'm very excited to see what tomorrow will bring in terms of that.
I can only say that I will spot a really fancy Bentley livery in bright purple and green with a huge amount of details, which was just too much to do. I'll never do that one again. So, of course, now with the new 2020 Pirelli tire compound, the formation lap is more important than ever, I would say, because the tires need a lot of time. They need a longer time to come up on temperature and develop their peak in grip. So you really want to swerve around in the car, trying to use the tires as good as possible, apply the brakes, heat up everything as much as you can. So really, it's very, very crucial to use the formation lap now and just not coast around and hope for the best.
Absolutely. A lot of people talking about how tire pressures and temps in general are a lot more important now.
Yes,
So
you really need to spend the time to, practice a few longer stints, or let's say 10, 15 laps, to see how your tire pressure behaves, because you need to aim it more towards the perfect window, which is like 27.5, 27.7. So you want to stay in there.
So you see a lot of people weaving about, trying to make sure they've got something in their tires.
Yes, and we heard in one of the live streams from Aris, the developer, that weaving right now actually does something for the new tire compound. It really helps warming it up, increasing the grip. And off we go to nearly.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. Brought up by Paul in the chat, and something which he's just had to go and trigger me right at the start of the race, doesn't he? Because this is something that really annoys me. But I believe we're not on the new 2020 tyres on this track, because it's not a 2020 track, so you don't get the 2020 tyres.
Oh, Kyalami is the only exception, right?
Is it? It could be.
So.
You could be
Because
right.
It was not in the 2020 calendar. Holy moly, Batman. We were rambling on about the new tire compound. I think Kyalami is the only track that was...
I believe the IGT tracks don't have it because they don't have 2020 versions.
And Comeback Kid, yes, that was one of my cats in the background. She was celebrating the start. Off we go.
Absolutely.
Into T1, the kink, into the left-handed T2. And we're just sitting here hoping that it all goes well. Will the amateur split, again, make headlines with being the cleanest split while we dive in here?
Absolutely. We've got a few little taps we could just see there in the back, and we have the Aston Martin leaping into the lead now. Oh, and there's some incidents here. Definitely something happening there. We see the Pringles Ferrari getting mashed. Cars coming into the back. Make sure to lift off, lads, or the stewards will be upset with you for ignoring yellow flags. A lot of cars there getting in a big incident coming right up the front.
That is a huge wreckfest right now at the end, and splitting the field in half, basically.
Absolutely. We basically have no idea where we are now because everyone is absolutely everywhere. They did technically survive turn one, as I see in the chat. That is a good point. I'm not sure how much that will actually matter, as the timing is still absolutely wrecked right now. I'm gonna put on the broadcasting times, but I don't know if they'll actually tell us too much now, because the broadcasting times in this game can get a little bit messed up if you don't do the first. As you can see Hearn falling down the order there because the game still thinks he's ahead for some reason. Ollie Moss is the Aston Martin that we saw taking the lead into the second corner very well there, in front of Paul Krampf in the Ferrari. So a great start from Ollie up from third, as Daniel Groundhoffer is being hounded right now by Tom Tweedy in third place. Tom Tweedy still leading the AMS, as Antti Monika has fallen down to sixth on that start, and Duncan Walker just ahead of her, second of the AMS. It's a him, isn't it? Oh, but he crashes into the side of the AM as he's trying to get by and gets smacked into again by another Aston Martin.
That's just really one unfortunate display when, the brakes and tires are not that much on temperature right now, and you just basically go a bit too quick. Really unfortunate to see him crashing in there. And we have, because of the first huge wreckfest, now 5 people in the pits, which is Petrov, Turner, Hearn, Collins, and Atkins repairing the cars to hopefully get back out again.
And they do have a pit stop in this race. All of our splits now have a pit stop, as opposed to last season when it was only the higher splits. So none of these guys are going to clear it. If they do come out of the pits, they are nowhere near the pit window. As we see Morgan now, the front of the AMS. I was looking at this to see the battle with Duret, but Morgan's actually pulled away from Duret now and is on the back of the Porsche of Walker from the Pro Split.
Yes, we have. So yeah, Tweedle in the Freezer Aston is our top amateur split driver, and he's really close to Grünhofer in the Bentley actually. So I'm really curious to see if he can make a move on him.
Absolutely, you've got a nice set of pairs 2x2 like Noah's Ark at the front of this grid so far. So let's hope that they can stay around and give us some interesting battles throughout the race there.
Yes, and it's really nice to see both of the pairs actually paying attention, you know, and just lifting off the throttle a little bit to not run into the car in front of them. Tweedle actually is diving now on the inside into this fast sweeping right-hander. Grünhofer fortunately sees him, gives him the space, you know, and let's see if he can carry that because he's now on the outside line. So
yes.
In Bentley can.
But they're still going side by side. This is fantastic because they come down. This is going to be the corner that puts it out because you cannot go side by side through here. But they absolutely rolled through where they can. The Bentley unfortunately got a bit on the curb there coming through towards here, so he's not going to be able to get a run down into the hairpin. But a fantastic bit of racing there from these two as we get Tweedy up into third now.
That was really smooth. I was just a tiny bit afraid when he just overused the curbs on the left and unsettled the Aston because it's really easy to lose the car there. But he did a really good job in his Freezer Aston.
Absolutely, as we move a little bit further down the grid and we can see that Duret, Walker and Morgan are still in a little gang of three here, and we have Dan Terry in that Petronas looking Aston coming up on the back of these guys, trying to join the fun.
Yeah, he's just there. He's just lurking and waiting for something to happen.
Absolutely. It's an interesting difference between most of the sort of multi-split racing that I've covered because normally you can hop back when you're doing GT3s and GT4s, you can hop back to look at the battle between the other split, but both the battles for the leads of the split are right up in the front of this, so just looking throughout the field, it's really great to see such a full grid that we've got today, and hopefully we can keep this up, keep these numbers up throughout, as it's really cool to see such a huge field.
Somebody was going off there. And then Terry just flicked through and is now in Is it P6?
He's just in front of Duret. Yeah, that looks like Morgan behind him down there. So yeah, it looks like he is in P6.
Yeah, it's Walker. Walker lost the Porsche and basically went off track. And
Dan has actually managed to pass all three of those guys in that little incident. So he should be doing very well here. He's actually up in 5th because it is Walker and Morgan who have both fallen behind him. Oh, as the Mercedes there gets very loose.
Aww.
Manages to keep out of the wall, though. So that's not death.
And now just be careful when...
Yeah, as long as he can re-enter correctly, that's not death. It is not death. I held my tongue a little bit there as he was re-entering, but that was not death as he comes around the curb. He's behind the next Mercedes, which means it looks like he's down in 17th place now. But at least he does not have any sort of big damage. Hopefully his tyres are feeling fine after that and he can keep pushing.
He did a really good job by avoiding the wall. That's not easy to do, so shout out to Bradfield for doing that.
Absolutely. Bradfield confirmed better than Alex Albon. I hope enough people have been watching F1 earlier today to get that. True F1 nerd hours as we see this battle for first. Krampf doing a good job stick on the back of Ollie. Some of the 2x2s up near the beginning of the pack have sort of faded, but this one hasn't. The Ferrari sticking right to the back of the Aston Martin. Both of these guys lapping incredibly closely as we see Tom Tweedy and Daniel Graunhofer coming up behind them.
Paul was actually doing the fastest lap of the race right about now, so he's really pushing. And as we see Ian going off, oh no, what happened with him? Did he spin out?
Let's see if we can get a replay well enough. I hope I've gone back long enough.
Big F in chat for Ian there.
Okay, there we go. It felt like it took more than 30 seconds for the replay to start there, but it has started and it worked and it didn't crash, which is good. Just going a little bit wide there before the left-hander. Easy mistake to do there.
Yes, too much turning, not lifting the throttle.
Look at that, just clunky. That is not a well Audi.
But
that car.
How well did everyone evade him? That was nice to see that it did not result into any more wreckages.
Absolutely, good job. Hopefully some people getting some lifts there, coming out of the throttle as we see him limping home to try and get into the pits. Shout out for this. Do you know what? Sometimes you see a car this damaged and you're like, just tow, it's not worth it. But he doesn't seem to be crabbing or anything. So as long as he can stay off the racing line as other people coming around, he has quite a big gap back to him now as we see Jay Smeets with a drive-through and Lewis Webb with a 10-second penalty. Hold on, Glover's been in the chat. He hasn't been there to give penalties. Smeets now, is that Smeets round? No, that's a Porsche round in the middle of that turn. Smeets just avoiding him with his drive-through. Not sure what the drive-through's for. Stewart's not often giving out drive-throughs, so it could be track cut, or maybe he took damage and sped in the pits early on. I do not have the steward sheets open to tell you right now.
I'm just trying to find out what happened there. Yeah, it's number 21.
Car 21. If he's not listed there, then it must mean it is either track cuts or, more likely this early, I guess, drive-through. As D Long, another person picking up early penalties, presumably from that first turn incident. D Long, everyone's favourite Pringles livery, taking a big hit in the middle of the field as we see cars all over the place in the background of that shot. Holy, look at this pack. Got some fantastic liveries in here in this pack. That Porsche that was spinning earlier was Eckhart von Glan, who is now coming around the last corner just behind a Nissan and a Lexus with that funky BMW and the Australian or New Zealand McLaren. I'm not confident enough to say which one it is. I can't get a good enough look at that flag, but it's clearly one of them. Penalty for distracting livery. That's a new one. Oh, and as we head up to the front, Paul Krampf is actually going around the inside of Moss into the hairpin. Lovely little attempt at a move there, but it's not going to work as they have to run down to the next bit of the lap. Let's try and have a quick little look back at that. Come on, you can do it. If the replays are going to be this slow, I'm not going to keep using them, but unfortunate. See, now that I've done it once, I'm pretty sure that it won't actually crash my computer, but I'm sure people in the stream just don't want to sit there looking at a still of a car for a little bit.
Let's not risk it yet.
Yeah, so unfortunately, we'll have less replays unless we really need it for now, and we'll see what's up with that at a later time.
And the first driver putting in a 142.6 race pace is Mr. Tom Tweedle.
Holy. 42.6 as well, so that would have put him in pole if he'd managed to do that in qualifying.
Yeah, he's trying to bridge the gap to the fight for P1 actually.
Absolutely, and as pointed out in chat, no pit stops yet, even though the pit window has been open for a little while.
Yes, I think most of the people just opted for, go out a tiny bit longer, see how it all works out, and then just, be a bit flexible and dive in. But right now I see 6-7 people in the pits, actually.
Oh, we're coming up to a yellow flag here. There is what looks like a Bentley there in the wall. A big orange boy has binned it.
That's what you don't want to see, is a big, beautiful Bentley in the wall. That's just not a nice sight to behold.
Absolutely, as we see the Nissan here of Wirch being slightly pressured by Jacob Sressen in the Lexus. He was at the front of a pack that was considerably behind the Nissan, but they have now both hopped up and they are both behind Long and behind Gary Allen, who has his own DT, so they can be gaining a good few positions here into the top 10 of the overall standings, which will be very nice for their first result.
So we have car number 66, which is Alan with the drive-through. And the reason is actually, it seems like he was the cause for the huge pileup in shortly after the start.
I see, absolutely. For anyone who is newer to ACCSS and the way we do things, it is normal in motorsport to be a bit lenient on first lap incidents because, you're all so close together. It's more likely for a little incidents to happen. You have to deal with so much. But as we are a rookie split and we're trying to help people learn, we feel like it's better to go the opposite way and be harsh on first lap incidents to try and weed some of these out of people, because a lot of people in the rookie splits are not careful enough on first laps. So if our stewards believe that someone has been being negligent and it wasn't just your typical first lap incident, then you can see some extra harsh penalties like that coming out. As I have hopped back into the field and we see Zach Morgan and Dan Terry here, who we are looking at, who have already cleared their pit stops and are leading of those who have so far.
I think it's a really good decision what you just explained to all the viewers, that especially in an amateur split, because if you are used to racing on public servers and public lobbies, you're just really in for the wreckfest. And I think this is really good to show the people how important it is to be clean and fair and respectful, because you do not win a race in the first corner. So I think as well that's a really good approach to take.
Absolutely, as you see Dan diving out the way there of that Porsche, just making sure to be extra careful.
A really, really nice maneuver to avoid Bottomley in the yellow Porsche. I just for a second thought he lost the car there.
Exactly. He dived so far out the way of that Porsche that he almost hit his own wall there. But he managed to make it around, keeping up this second position of those who have pit so far. If these leaders do anything like we've seen in our pro splits before and our silver split last time, we can expect the guys further up ahead to leave their pitting to as late as possible, hoping to have built up enough of a lead on people to pit and still retain as much track position as possible. But we can see a few people further on going for the pit. Daniel Groundhofer and Tweedy both just coming out of the pits there. Those positions on the left will be slightly incorrect until they hit the first timing beam after coming out of the pits. So don't get too excited yet with how far up they are, as we see it looks like a Lexus in the wall there.
And we have Crumph P2 Ferrari just diving into the pits, while Ollie Moss just stays out on track and keeps on pushing.
Nice. I think that's a good decision for Cramp. This is something that I wish I would see more often in some of our splits, is if you are behind someone, as everyone follow the leader there and goes wide, but if you are behind someone and believe you are faster than them, it is good to dive into the pits early, because they are slowing you down if you cannot overtake them but think you can go faster. So this is an assertive move by him, diving into the pits now and saying, when I get out, I'm going to do faster laps than you and I'm going to undercut you. We'll see how that works out for him. And it seems like Groundhopper actually is in 5th after pitting, as so many other people have also started pitting. So doing very well here. We're going to have to see how he comes around to the first pack as well. Getting in the early pit might have been a supreme undercut by some of these cars further back.
Yes, Crumph is now moving out of the pits, so that might take him. Well, he might come out on 5th position.
I think, actually. Yeah, I think he's going to come out ahead, but he's going to have so much less momentum due to being at such a lower speed. As you see, Groundhopper riding past the end of the pit lane. Crumph has just pit into the first corner, so he does manage to stay ahead.
That was a brilliant pit stop strategy, actually, to dive in right now after behind Moss and get it done. And now he basically has clear field.
Absolutely. Moss is still lapping faster than Groundhopper, so it might not have put him in any danger, but now Moss diving into the pits. So this is going to be the important lap. Was that lap that he just said fast enough to avoid getting undercut? Daniel Durrett, the next person to inherit the lead, is staying out. He is in the lead so far, but is the only driver to have not pit. Yes, that orange Bentley was being blue flagged, and he was definitely staying in front far too long, so we could definitely see the stewards looking into that. He is behind now, I believe.
And we have Crumph now approaching Cheetah, our infamous worst corner.
Ollie Moss has just started to leave, so by what we learnt last time from Crumph versus Groundhopper, it looks like Ollie Moss is going to be pretty safe coming out here.
Absolutely, Crumph is now exiting the last corner, so Moss did a brilliant job managing the lead and kept on pushing, and unfortunately Crumph was held up on his outlap quite a lot. There were a few backmarkers, so he was not really able to push as much as he probably wanted to.
Absolutely, and that's the sort of levels that you see the teams in proper professional motorsports like F1 get into, where it's not just looking at is it good to pit from your position, but is it good to pit to the position you will come out in. And for Crumph right now, it was not, and it's really impossible to tell that on his own. So I think a good ballsy move, but it didn't pay off for Crumph, unfortunately.
Unfortunately not, yes. And we just have to keep an eye on Durrett, actually. Is he able to increase the gap? Because it's sitting at 32 seconds right now. So if, well, with the pit window open just for another 1.5 minutes, I don't think he's able to increase it any further.
He's just come in now, and he had to because he wouldn't make it round again. So that is the right call from him. He's left it as late as possible, and I'm doubtful that he will manage to do it. But it is possible. He wasn't too far behind Moss, and Moss on the cold tyres already coming round towards the end of the lap. So it's not happening.
Yes.
Not happening, boys.
Refueling is allowed, yes.
Yep, as people are saying in the chat, you have to change tyres, which means everyone's pit stop is the same 30 seconds. I believe 30, or is it 20 seconds? And then about 30 for the pit. I can't remember, but it's however much the tyres take. It's a ton.
30 seconds.
Yeah, even if you refueled your entire tank in this game, it would not take longer than the tyres. So everyone's pits are the same. 30, good. Thank you very much. As Durrett gets a stop go 30, and seeing as he's just come out of the pits, it looks like speeding in the pit lane perhaps has got to our boy Durrett, and that's really going to wreck him here because he was in second position. Tweedy just coming out ahead of him after that. So that is going to plummet him down. He might still manage to get a podium in AM. Might still manage to get a podium in AM, just because there is so far down to Surison, who is the next driver. But stop go 30 is real bad. He could easily lose a lot of places with this.
Yeah, that was automatically applied, so he was speeding in the pit lane. Really unfortunate. Maybe he just forgot to press the pit limiter, or maybe just a tiny bit too late. You never know. For
a lot of these drivers, it will be their first time pit stopping, and it is a difficult thing to learn, especially if you're doing your first time trying to get it yourself. I remember I used to use the slower automatic pit stop procedure, turning it off automatically and everything, and from then I got so used to sitting in neutral and slamming a gear up to move off that when I started being in first to roll off, very often I'd accidentally slam it up to second and immediately break the speed limit. So it's easy to do these sort of things when you're not as experienced in there, and these are the sort of mistakes that we will see coming out, as we are, of course, a rookie league.
And it's not a bad thing, because we are all in this together to learn and improve. So I just remember how scared I was before Season 1 with you guys in ACCSS. Just hearing that I have to do pit stops, and I was like, oh boy, I actually need to practice pit stops now.
Yeah, absolutely. Very injured. I actually just want to go back to that Mercedes and just look at him, because that is one battered up boy. Where is he? Here he is. Look at that. Oh, he's had some hardship.
That must be awful to drive, actually. If your front looks as damaged as his does, it's just can't be nice to drive.
No, absolutely not. And he's pulling himself in here. We can see the penalties back here on some of the boys. Probably many of them caught up in that those early incidents. We won't spend too much time on stream reminding them of their incidents. We'll let them forget this and move on to the second race. One of the benefits, if you do have a bad incident like this, for people who have the mentality to do it, I know some people don't like it, but we do run 2 30-minute races here, so you have a bad first race, you can always try and make it up again in the second.
Yes, and that's really cool, because both races are back-to-back, so there's no extra qualifying. You do your first qualifying, and then you have the position on the grid for both races.
Absolutely. As we look into the last 4 minutes of this race, Moss, Krampf, and Grundhofer, however you're meant to say that. I'm probably butchering half of these names, and if you do watch this back, any of the AM drivers, I apologize. Send me a Discord message if I am really wrecking your name, and give me some advice on how to fix it, and I will attempt to do better. Is that a stop go 20 on Huick?
Yes, it is.
I didn't even know you could get stop go 20s. What is this?
That's also a new thing for me. I think that's like one of the manual stewarding stop and goes. Let me just find out.
I've never seen a stop go 20. That's crazy. That caught me off guard. I was about to talk about your boy Tom Tweedy in the best livery, who is coming home so far to win the AM as it is going, right behind Grundhofer. Interesting to see here if he's going to try and make the move, if he'll sit happily behind for the win of his class, or if he'll try and make it into third overall. Oh, as there's a car off there. He is actually going to look up the side there, going on the inside, but into the corner of death. He's going to give it up, because that's a dangerous one. The Porsche there offline, but backs out of it smartly, not to spin across the track and ruin everyone else's race. Good job there, as we see them running into the last corner. Let's see if Tweedy is going to make the move.
I'm really impressed. Tweedy has been pushing his pace really, really hard, and he still keeps the trophy for the fastest lap of the race, which was the 42.6 that we just saw within the first 5 minutes of the race. But it looks to be settled. It looks to be settled in the lead. If Ollie Moss is not doing any mistake, he will comfortably roll in with P1. But with Crump from P2 also, I would say really comfortable. And then it's just can Tweedy move in on the big boat? That's
Absolutely. We should shout out Dan Terry, as a few people have mentioned him in chat. He is catching up a lot on this Tweedy Grundhofer fight. He's so far away, it doesn't look like he's going to manage to get anywhere, as Tweedy goes a little bit wide into the hairpin. But he's putting in some good laps to make it closer.
Yes, he's. I think then Terry's. If we see the split timing again, around 8 seconds behind the fight of Tweedy versus Grundhofer.
For some reason, timetable and broadcasting in my brain are the other way around today. So apologies if I open up the wrong one there. As Tweedy's still looking at every opportunity. He's definitely not settling for this. As a back marker just getting slightly awkwardly in the way there. But it looks like he got a decent run out.
You can really see Grundhofer slightly panicking, trying to get past the back marker as quick as possible because he can feel Tweedy breathing down his neck. I'm just not sure he can see him because the Bentley is just so huge. And and now we got a back marker involved there, and Tweedle unfortunately has to pay the bill there. That's an unfortunate incident.
Absolutely, he got spun around there, and that's Dan Terry just passing him. And Zach Morgan, I believe, is in the anime car, so Zach Morgan has just come up behind him now, and with his damage, he's now going to have to try and hold off Zach Morgan, and this is an exact example of the sort of thing that can happen in these events. Trying to take the risk to fight for overall position rather than his class position, and now his class position is being risked as Morgan goes around the inside through that fast left-hander and takes the lead of the amateur AMs right now.
Yeah, that was just that was just so bad to see because there was, I think it was a McLaren getting the blue flags, and I think he wasn't really sure where to move or what to do, and Grundhofer was just swerving out there, and Tweedle just got in the way. It's just that's just really unfortunate to watch, and as Handsome Lars is chatting, Frieza just got Dragon Balled. Unfortunately, he got the push of the Super Saiyan.
Absolutely. As we see, Ollie Moss has come through to win the first race of the season, with Paul Krampf in the Ferrari coming in second. Daniel Grundhofer making it a first podium for him in ACCSS in the Bentley. And Dan Terry coming in fourth after having that last position handed to him in there. Another set of excellent laps by the end gave him a couple more seconds, as we mentioned earlier, but far too far back to do anything of it. Didn't manage to make good on his pace in qualifying, but definitely had a good race from him first time out, as Tweedy comes in second. Unfortunate for him, but a very strong race nonetheless. Had some pace. We'll see if he can make better on it in the second race. And Zach Morgan takes the win in the waifu car for the amateurs.
I'm really impressed that Tweedy just, took it across the line. It's just at this moment, I think you're just shouting at your screen, being frustrated, but then managing to cool it down and just take the car across the line and at least get some points. That's a really good how he managed that.
Absolutely. We've had many people talking about this in the Discord, how for some people it is easier than others to manage to fix your mental after a bad first race and bring it home for a second one. So hopefully a lot of our boys in this split right now can pull that off.
It will be interesting to see now if especially the second half of the field will be able to manage the traffic pile up without crashing.
So that was our first race, and we hope you enjoyed it. I've had some good fun here. Hopefully we'll get another good one. remember what we do if you're new to this is we do a driver of the day vote at the end of every race. So from P1 to 15, you can vote for your driver of the day. Put in P and then the number of the car you want to vote for. So P1 to vote for Ollie Moss, P2 to vote for Paul Krampf, P3 to vote for Daniel Grundhoff, P4 for Dan Terry, P5 for Zach Morgan, P6 for Antti Monika, P7 for Tom Tweedy, P8 for Marcus Haler, P9 for Duncan Walker, P10 for Steve Slow, P11 for Gary Allen, P12 for Jacob Surison, P13 for Mark Chandurnas, P14 for Eric Storm, and P15 for Sasha Herzet. And I don't think we need a bot to tell us who won that vote, do we?
Are you sure? I'm not so sure.
So we'll head onto the podiums, and I will hide all of these ones from before. So while I clicky-clack some typing down here, give us your thoughts on that first race.
Incredible. Opening up the season with such a big field and basically 2 splits within the amateur class just showed us how much potential there is and how many drivers actually, can pull off a fast lap not only in qualifying but also in race. So it was really incredible for me to see Mr. Tweedy in the Aston setting in the fastest lap of the race. But also, let's not forget the huge pileup that we saw into the first corner. So I can only imagine, what the beginners and maybe first-time racers have to go through and experience when you see like over 40 cars diving into the left hand. Right? It must have just, it must have looked, on the one hand, I'm pretty sure it looked incredible, but on the other hand, I think it was just, for some of the backmarkers, absolutely horrifying view.
Absolutely. So, your podium for this race is Oliver Moss in first place, Paul Krampf in second, Daniel Grundhofer in third, and your driver of the day, Tom Tweedy.
And we're missing the cameras, as Black which just pointed out.
Yeah, absolutely.
They want to see our lovely faces, Gareth. Come on, you gotta satisfy the crowd.
I very much had one of the 2 overlays done. I forgot that they were separate. So apologies for that. But
no webcam. I'm sorry, guys.
Don't worry.
You will see us again after the second race. Don't worry.
No. Don't you worry. You will see us again far sooner than that.
Stick with us. We just, to be totally honest, we just have to quickly finish our makeup. That's why we're not on camera right now.
Absolutely. I've got to change hats.
Such a stressful first race. I look like a mess right now. My beard is all.
There we go. My webcam decided that just before we started doing a third season of this, that it would just kill itself out of whatever. And so I'm actually using an iPhone on a stand, which arrived yesterday for this. So slightly awkward setup, as it has to sit directly in front of my screen, but it is okay for now. And
absolutely lovely.
Yeah, we are both set up now and good to go. So this is your podium, and Tom Tweedy is your driver of the day. And before we hop back into our game for race 2, we are going to take a quick break and show you some highlights from an earlier season.
Bring the smell of rain into my bed and lie so close to me. You could be inside my head. Maybe it's a once in a lifetime kind of thing. feel the kind of magic that your love brings. Some days it's like a haunting. This cool empty space, far above and all around. When I start to miss your face. You live in me, my reverie. Don't ever leave. You live in me, my reverie. Don't ever You live in me, my reverie. Don't ever leave. You live in me, my reverie. Don't You live in me, my reverie. Don't ever leave. You live in me, my reverie. Don't ever leave me. Oh,
Hello and welcome back. We have returned into the parade lap, the warm-up lap, whatever you want to call it. And here is your order, in case you didn't remember it from the first race. This is the same order as the first race started in from the qualifying that we had earlier. Paul Krampf taking the lead, Antti Maninka coming up second, Ollie Moss, who managed to do an incredibly early jump into the lead last time. We'll see if he can do that again. Tom Tweedy, followed by the Grundhofer, Marco Jurek, Duncan Walker, Gary Allen, Jacob Surison, and Daniel Durrett, rounding out your top 10. Who are you looking to do better this time, Stefan?
That's really hard to tell. That's a tough question. I was, as I said previously, really impressed by Mr. Tweedle and his performance, and then the unfortunate, unlucky accident. So I still just gotta root for him. I think this is his chance, and yeah, I just hope he survives the start and gets into a good rhythm.
Absolutely. I'm going to say that I hope that the entire back of the field does better in avoiding a huge pile-up, and we can have a cleaner race this time, worthy of the Friday split, clean split mantra that we've had before.
That's absolutely right. Unfortunately, the first victim is G Gray in the Lexus. I think he forgot to press drive because he's in the pits. And we now have Huick also in the pits. So 2 cars are set to the pits and have to start from there, while the rest of the field is forming up.
Unfortunate for them. As we come around to the start of our lap, we've got our boys going in 2 by 2, ready for the start.
Billy in chat saying that Richard the Weapon Bradfield is on the watch.
So you can just see him there on the far left of our shot in that orange Mercedes. Hopefully his bonnet stays together this time and he can have a bit of a better run of it. He's starting there just ahead of Daniel Terry, who managed to come 4th in the last race.
And it's just incredible seeing over 40 cars lining up for the start there.
And it's getting very pretty here as the sun starts to go down. We've got a little bit of a break there in the start lines. Not everyone managing to be on their marks. As we go to green, Paul Krampf is going to lead off into their Anti, not giving a huge amount of room to Ollie Moss on the side, but Ollie Moss is going to dive to the inside. We're going 3 wide into the first corner, 4 wide into the first corner with 3 Astons there, as 2 of them go around either side of the Ferrari not being confident on his cold brakes there, as we have Astons going wide. A bit of an incident perhaps further back. No huge deaths yet though.
No, looks like most of them survived.
Orange Bentley pushes an Audi out there a little bit, but no huge deaths. Oh, big hit there from the Pringles McLaren onto an Aston at the back. That's definitely going to be frowned upon by our stewards.
But there was no wreckfest. Just
saw a spin of that McLaren there. As you say, there's no wreckfest. Daniel Terry, none other, gets taken out in that incident, which causes a few people there, and he's having to wait for a year, and he gets slammed by the Nissan, who just comes around too fast into that corner. A couple of people not respecting yellows there.
Commentator curse right there. I'm sorry, guys.
It's fine. You've been learning from the best of us. Dan Terry been teaching you well, as we can turn on the one that, again, I've got the names around the wrong way, the broadcasting HUD, so that we can see who's in the lead. Ollie Moss once again taking the lead with an incredible dive into that first corner, but this time Antti Manika, he manages to follow Moss through there, going in the other side of that incredible freeway move to get on the side of Krampf. It looks like Tweedy had some sort of incident there and has fallen back. Him going wide didn't manage to keep it in there, but now we have these 2 Astons in the lead.
We unfortunately had some more tiny touchy incidents in the middle of the field, and bottom lane in the yellow Porsche was basically thrown back at the end of the field because it was spun out of the race. So there was no T1 pile up, but there is enough action right now as Tweedy again gets a nudge there.
Made a bit of a mistake there, it looks like, and got a bit squirrely. Managed to keep it out of the wall, though, now behind Grundhofer. So those 2 don't want to collide again like they did last race, because that did not turn out well, especially for Tweedy. I mean, that big Bentley, I'm sure he can take a bit of a punt, but the little Aston Martin doesn't want it.
No, absolutely not. Looks like this time we are in.
That was huge. The Honda getting all messed up there. The Lexus as well. Surison is hit into the wall after a clap between them, and now has lost a load of places as well. Is going to try and rejoin that. Has to be careful on the grass.
One thing that I really forgot to mention at the start is, like, we are now driving at the evening. We have colder temperatures, so it might be that some of the amateur drivers just forgot to change their tire pressures.
Absolutely. Tire pressures, obviously... a lot of people saying after the update, much bigger issue. Not sure if it's the same on the tyres on this track, but people definitely could be having an issue with the cold tyres, as once again Tweedy right up behind Grundhofer. Has a little bit more time to try and make the move this time, as it's much earlier on in the race that he's there, but still leading the AMS for now, but he has a big queue of AMS right behind him in this one, led by, once again, Zach Morden, who's right behind him.
I'm pretty sure that at this point, Tweedy unfortunately has...
There's been another incident, and it includes Dan Terry as well. the funky BMW and Dan Terry splayed out across the track there. And, you know, I love you, Stefan, but I feel like you should probably stop talking, because every time you talk, I have to interrupt you with more death.
It's crazy. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Go ahead, try and get out what you were trying to say without anyone dying.
Every time I kind of try to say like we didn't have a pile up into turn 1, we get a crash on another part of the track.
It was the wrong time to follow Joe Smeets there as he goes slightly wide. We see the Pringles McLaren there trying to make up some spaces. That's a Ferrari. I feel like a traitor for saying that, but trying to make up some places after having some bad incidents early on.
Oh no, I remember the one thing that I actually wanted to say before the last carnage was that I'm pretty sure that Tweedy now has to battle with a damaged car after like the 3 or 4 tiny incidents that he was involved. It might be that his car is damaged, but he passed Grundhofer and he's now sitting in 5, really pushing for it. Currently the top AM amateur split car.
Yeah, absolutely. His car doesn't look too outwardly damaged, so we can only hope for him that he's still feeling fine and being able to set good times. He hit a 1:43.9 on that last lap where he overtook Zach Morgan, which is the second fastest lap of the race so far, to Ollie Moss, who is out in the lead of this race with a 1:43.7, which was also set on that last lap. Chowdhury having a much better race this time. We saw him as the back marker Bentley getting in the way last race, but this time he is up in 9th, being able to fight on his own terms with the Mercedes of Turner right in front of him and the Honda of Uric just behind.
And we got a question in chat if the practice server will be up again tomorrow for Kyalami before the silver split race. Do you know?
It should be. The practice server should be up right now. I don't see any reason why it would go down. Obviously, everyone who has any sort of control over that is either in this race or stewarding on this race. So if it is down, then we'll have to wait till afterwards to check it out. But yes, the Kyalami race server should be up until Monday, where it will change over to next week's track.
Awesome. So yes, as Glove Pup is stating in chat, it's not a 2020 track, so the cars there are not using the new 2020 Pirelli compound, but they still have the updated tire physics that Aristoteles, the developer, was talking about his stream. So there are basically 2 updates to the game, which one is the 2020 Pirelli tire compound, a new tire model, and the other update is as well concerning the tires, which is basically just revolving around the physics and the behavior of the whole tire physics in the game.
Not confusing there at all, as we see Ollie Moss going a little bit wide there. Not sure which update has more of the effect on what players have been noticing, but we can keep that in mind. So there will definitely be some of these changes, as Maninka is looking really aggro on Moss right now. This is really cool to see. A bit too aggro there, loses a little bit of time to Krampf, but this is an awkward or fantastic position for Krampf, whichever way you look at it, because he just needs to keep on the back of these two now. And overtakes beget overtakes often, so if Maninka makes it around somewhere, that likely means he will have disrupted Moss's line and Krampf can dive in. And also there's the slightly more base hope that, you know, Krampf can be hoping that these two in front make a mistake of it and manage to murder each other and give him the place.
Yeah, I can only tell you from personal experience that when you are in 3rd position here and you have 2 drivers in front of you battling it out, it can be really irritating when you have 2 cars directly in front of you swerving around the track. And once again, we see Krampf getting really close and trying to dive into the last corner, but very hard situation, very challenging as he tried to
it looks like he's got it.
Maninka.
Looks like he's got the run there going down on Maninka into the first corner. He's also got the better line now being on the inside for this. We saw Tweedy in the background going off as we see Dan Terry coming out. Ooh, much better braking though from the Aston. Good job there by Maninka. Very close to a few touches there, but it looks like they got through clean, as I believe incredible. We just saw someone in the background going off, didn't we?
Really incredible to see Maninka very late on brakes, but having he actually really hit the mark there, and the perfect apex turning in the Aston and just coming out on top of the battle.
Absolutely, yeah, that was not a position that you'd expect Maninka to manage to make, but he did, so big shout out to that, and he manages to retain his second place, although that battling has given Ollie Moss a little bit of a headroom to get out.
Yeah, really, he's making good progress there in the lead currently, sitting at a comfortable pace of around 44.3. So we currently see lap times decreasing in comparison to the first race, which was in daylight and warmer conditions. So yeah, drivers are now maybe struggling a little bit with high temperatures. You never know if somebody forgot to adjust his tire pressures.
Absolutely. And it's going to be a big change with the temperature difference we've seen, as the Ferrari looking again to go a little bit aggressive. I think the best thing Maninka can do here is just keep it calm, keep it smooth, as James Hunt would say, and actually diving into the pits is another option.
I actually just wanted to say it would be a better decision for Krampf to dive into the pits to get out of this fight and have clean road ahead of him, but that situation just basically solved itself.
Yeah, it is normally right for the person behind to jump into the pits, but this is also an option if Maninka was getting a little bit ruffled from having the car behind. Gets out of the way of that now and can hopefully get into a better position, although unfortunately it's likely that he's going to dive back into the huge amount of traffic that we have on this track, and that could end up making his life a little bit harder, as we see. I'm trying to catch him, but he keeps moving. Ray Birch. Oh no, it wasn't him. It was 23, not 121. There was a car who spun at the last corner.
It depends all on, you know, when the guys in the mid of the pack will do all their pit stops. But you're definitely right. That just could get him into a really tough position with all the traffic.
Ooh, as Chandanes trying to go down on the inside there, doesn't quite make it and ends up having a little sort of half spin by himself. This Mercedes now right behind him, but it doesn't look like that Mercedes is fighting him for place right now. Unless he is further back than he looks.
Some penalties drizzling in right now for P10, 11 and 12 at the moment.
Absolutely. Stewards having a look at these boys and hitting them down for something.
Yeah, the stewards are currently trying their best to catch up on all the incidents that happened in the first 3 or 4 minutes of the race.
Yeah, there was a lot of crashes. Any one of those could have had some places in them. So these are the people, it looks like, who got away with those incidents without getting knocked down too far down the grid. And this Mercedes still staying in front of everyone here. This is a bit of an awkward fight here. It looks like that was just Herzert getting past a load of these guys who are getting slightly slowed by this back marker, who's now skidded into the pit lane and slammed into the wall there. Big damage on that Mercedes.
That's just basically the race for you with all the damage.
It looks like he was reasonably near the back anyway, so unfortunately, pretty much entirely out for him now. This up here with Duncan Walker and Zach Morgan is probably our closest battle near the front of the field. Krampf closing up a little bit on Moss, but Morgan right tight on the back here, looking for a move around the outside into the hairpin. Gonna have to really hold it on there, and he doesn't manage to do it. The Porsche getting a nice nimble move around there. The Porsche are a very good car on this track to defend with through that hairpin, because you can easily take a really tight line.
Yeah, and it's just you could just see that Morgan was a bit later on braking, and he just had nowhere to go. He had to move to the outside to just not risk any crash there. And we have Morgan now diving into the pits as well. So he's the first guy in the current top 5 actually to dive into the pits, while we see more and more penalties being piled up. Benson in 8th place with the Honda, currently sitting with 20 seconds.
Benson going for the record here. Getting quite a few now as we're... it's going to be interesting to check with someone like Morgan to see where he comes out compared to some of our other front runners who have pit, people like Maninka and Groundhoffer. Maninka and Groundhoffer have been doing decent 143s since they got out. Maninka actually low 143s. So should be pretty strung up. Actually, last lap, though, getting caught up quite badly behind some back markers, it looks like. So,
yes,
not super fast.
Was unfortunately not very, very quick.
We are halfway through, not over yet.
But there's... this is what we were talking about with it's very possible to get caught up behind traffic in this situation. Zach Morgan is already coming out of the pit lane, and so is a good good bit further ahead of Antti Maninka.
Yeah, that was, I think, not the best decision to go for such an early pit stop to be thrown into all the traffic, because he lost a lot of positions. But I mean, all the drivers ahead of him still have to get their pit stops done, and we have 2 with penalties right there. So let's see how much he can catch up with the front again. So
Maninka's actually stayed ahead of Morgan. So what's it called? The timing screen there tricking us a little bit. Grandhoffer as well. Grandhoffer's right behind Maninka here, and this is actually now looking like it could be a fight towards first. I feel like the smart thing for Grandhoffer to do here, with the whole goal of the race in mind, would just be to follow Maninka, because Maninka has been very similar speed to him overall and has been seemingly faster a lot of the time. So if he can just follow here and they can get good laps together, that gives them more chance of coming out ahead of someone like Moss or Krampf when they pit.
And we actually have 5 drivers of the top 8 now in the pits.
Yep.
While Maninka and Grundhofer just dive into the last corner. So they are getting back into the top 5, I think.
Easily they're going to come out of this in 5th and 6th, these two. We haven't seen anyone else pit yet. Von Glan with the 10-second penalty is almost definitely going to fall behind them. So it is coming up to what people like Long, Krampf and Moss can do. You see Duncan Walker shows ahead, but he's not. He's just behind her. That is what the timing screen can have after coming out of the pits. So he is just behind these 3.
Maninka and Grundhofer are currently both nearly the same lap time at low 145-ish. So if they keep on pushing that, it will get really close to the top.
Absolutely, and we see Ollie Moss keep going for it again, but Paul Krampf is in the pit now. So this is going to be the next interesting one to see about when Maninka can come through. Still got a little while to go, just coming up towards the hairpin.
Yes, I think, I don't know. I don't think it will be enough for Maninka to get into the top 3s. Right now, with Krampf still being in the pits, Maninka going downhill, flicking it into the right and approaching the terrifying worst corner.
Krampf has just started to move, so,
yeah,
probably going to come out just ahead.
We have Glenn in the pits as well, and Long now also pitting. So Maninka will pull into 3rd place.
Absolutely, especially with Glenn's big old penalty.
But We just have to remind that Cramp is now on his outlap on colder tires, fresh tires. So
Absolutely, he has a decent lead on the next two behind, but that could be lost through, as you say, not having the best tyres. Is unfortunately that 102 McLaren that we saw sitting there. Being a good boy, trying not to cause any incidents, but that does mean he's had to wait a long time on that corner. Ollie Moss now heading into the pits.
another question in the chat is if the live timings on YouTube are going to be used for this championship. I think they are, right?
Let's test it. Did I spell that wrong? I very well may have. I am not the biggest brain of man.
You just showed it shortly before the start.
Does not look like the timings are on right now. We'll see what we're doing both timings. I believe we're looking to change how we're doing timings.
Yeah, I think we are. So it's not live right now.
Yeah. It was possible that Dan was going to run the timings still, but I believe he is going to this week be testing a new way of doing timings, which is a little bit easier.
It's a bit cooler, it's a bit easier, so yes, that's why we are changing that.
Yeah, so we should be doing new timings, but they are not happening right now, unfortunately. As we have seen while we were talking about this, Ollie Moss coming out ahead of Krampf, and there is a back marker in between them.
Yes, and Maninka was 4 seconds quicker on the last lap, so he was catching up with Krampf.
Oh, but it looks like the Bentley is going for it. Grundhofer going in on the inside there, doesn't manage to get it before the corner, was really looking like he had the run for it, but backs out. So these two, been stuck together for the whole of these two races, it seems, just cannot get apart. Oh no, it was Tweedy in the other Aston who banged into him last time. My bad.
And
Fine.
It looks like everyone except Mr. Long just finished with their pit stops. Mr. Long, our Pringles Ferrari, is still in the pits.
Down the bomb. The last person to get his pits off. Hasn't had a good race, unfortunately, either times.
Yeah, unfortunately not. Even though the start looks clean, we had a lot of incidents in the first 2 laps.
As we were talking about Tom Tweedy, he has not had as good a race this time, at least individually, initially, but he is still in second for his class, so not doing too bad, as Zach Morgan is rolling up ahead the ward right behind Duncan Walker right now, putting a little bit of pressure onto him into the first turn. Very defensive driving there from Walker.
Yeah, already taking a very defensive line.
I think you can afford to go tight like that in the Porsche. It's a very nimble car, but it is definitely a little bit of a risk defending so early, because when you show that you're going to defend that early, car behind you just thinks, okay, I'm just going to take the normal line and try to carry more speed.
You definitely can't take a tight line like that with the Bentley or the BMW.
Oh, for sure, yeah. With the BMW, you would have a nightmare getting out of there on the acceleration.
And we still have penalties drizzling in there. I think that the stewards are having a hard time right now to catch up, but I mean, shout out to the stewarding team. They are doing a brilliant job, amazing. They are on the top of it.
Absolutely, the stewarding is one of the important things that I think really makes this setup that we have here at ACCSS so special, having proper live stewarding to make sure to keep these races as clean as possible and punish those who aren't as clean, and hopefully help teach some people when they're making mistakes so that they can try and improve their racing. I know I've heard a lot of people giving their testimonials saying about how much they think they've improved from driving in this. Even some people like Paul Glavo, who's been chatting in the chat, has said that he feels like he's a much better driver after doing a couple seasons of this. So it seems to be working out what we got going here.
And Gaxamel and Sean River are basically telling us that we are doing a really great job and we are a nice studio pair. So thank you so much, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you to everyone who's been watching, throwing in those subscriptions, those Twitch primes, giving us some Bezos money, and giving us the follows so you can see when we're live. We're going to be live Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for the next 4 weeks, covering the championship, and also a bit earlier on Sunday, 1 week a month, to cover our solo endurance cup.
So, Rob, yep.
Oh, and shout out to Madame Mims, man, who is also just a regular viewer on my stream. So good to see him in chat. I'm really looking forward to the Silver Split race tomorrow.
Absolutely. Make sure to tune in to, I'm sure Bunatix will be streaming it on his stream, and we'll also have Lars and Paul on this stream, giving you the coverage.
Absolutely. The unfiltered, uncensored coverage from my point of view and your brilliant ACCSS stream. And we already have Matty in chat saying that he thinks that this will be the best commentating duo for the whole weekend.
I'm happy with that. We see 2 Audis going side by side, but I believe one of those is a back marker, the red Audi at the back. Almost got a Super GT red car, blue car thing going on here. Louis Ferdinand with that big penalty, but still sitting in 11th place. And it looks like the front of Am is really coming close, because that right there is the McLaren of Morgan. So Tweedy's actually done a really good job catching up, or perhaps Walker has been holding him back.
Morgan just can't find a way past Walker in the Porsche, and that's just, it's tricky because I think the Porsche and McLaren are both very small, lightweight, and very easy to turn cars, but they are just, it's hard to put it in words, but they look similar. They are lightweight, but they are not as easy to handle and to control and push to the limits.
Absolutely, you see a lot of mounting the curb there by Morgan, getting desperate for the pass, but there's a back marker Lexus in the way here. This could be the thing that makes it, like in something like Super GT, staying just out of the way there, doing a decent job of not hitting into anyone. I really liked what Tweedy did there. Absolute ballsy move, trying to throw it around the outside to get that Hakkinen pass on the both of them, but not quite making it. Fantastic hairpin there where you can go through multiple lines, but this order gonna stay how it is for now, although and a little bit wider there from the McLaren. Good job that he kept it in there, and some good light flashing to show that he's the big boy triggered right now.
Morgan is really desperate right now because when you're stuck behind a car that's just slowing you down, but you don't find a way to get through, it's annoying.
Absolutely, he doesn't want to make a mistake and get himself a penalty, as he is leading his split right now. He saw what happened to Tweedy last time when he crashed out of the lead of that split right near the end, trying to pass someone in the split above. And he won't gain any points for this pass as well, but he just wants to do it to keep his position safe from Tweedy here, because at any point Tweedy could make the big dive on him to try and take that position off him for the lead of Am.
And just quickly looking at the lead, Moss and Crumph are having heavy traffic, and they are both very close to each other right now as they are passing back markers. There's a lot of traffic going on right now.
Absolutely, a Porsche around there on the outside. Actually going to tap into the Ferrari of Cramph. Cramph losing a lot of time there, taking a little bit of a hit.
That was unfortunate. It just looked like Cramph was getting on throttle a bit too early, and he was just not able to hold the line against the blue flag car.
Yeah, washed wide a little bit into that Porsche. Some might argue that these cars aren't giving quite enough space for the people ahead, but
right in front of Crump, we have another crash occurring. Fortunately for him, he's not involved there.
oh yes, been there. You can see in the back as he comes around this corner, and you can see how far Ollie Moss has already got away because of these incidents. Looking like some straight Super GT racing here. I'm loving it, seeing everyone, all the back markers getting involved, all the lap traffic, as we see finally the move has been made. Zach Morgan here diving on towards the last turn, and the Porsche looks like it was getting a little bit squirrely over there to the right. It looks like he's binned it in the last corner trying to stay ahead.
Yeah,
and so this means that the two AM leaders are now let loose to go about this on their own and fight for this, to see if Zach Morgan has the pace to pull away from Tweedy when he's not being held up.
Frims in chat is asking if you could scroll through the driver list once more, please, as he wants to see all the names.
I can have a look down the back for some of you. Here we go. This is the bottom of what we've got going. Otley is in the pits, I believe, has given up. You can see he's plus 10 laps down. Here at the back, we see some of our drivers, some big penalties coming in here. 45 seconds for Smeets. He's really not had a good day today, unfortunately. Lots of little 5 seconds around here. People who've clearly got into crashes.
I must have to say that I was really not expecting so much overtaking and so many blue flags, but then again, with having over 40 people and 2 splits in one class, really just shows you that these races will be more exciting this season. So I'm already thinking about tomorrow's silver split race, where we also have amateurs and pros racing in the silver split. So we might have some overtaking action right there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking about how close these splits are, but more so for hot lapping perhaps than race pace, as we see Crampton Moss coming over the line. Got a load of back markers diving in as well from Hearn backwards, finishing a lap down. Shout out to Dan Terry, who I was giving a look at a little bit earlier, because he has managed to make a decent comeback drive after being in 2 incidents early on, back up to 18th.
And I think Cramp just took the lead. Something's wrong with Moss. Moss is getting off track. He's stopping.
He's finished.
Oh yeah, the race is over.
The checkered flag, my friend.
Yeah, checkered flag right now. I was like, what's going on? Why is he slowing down? I was so in the zone right now.
You've done the famous Steve from Spa in season 1.
I was like, why is he slowing down? Crap is taking. What is happening? Oh boy, what a race! What a race!
Definitely.
So
looking at the number of penalties coming out here, big shout out to our stewards, put in the fine work to make this league what it is. If any of you are interested in stewarding, it's good fun if you can spare the time on the weekend to sit around and do some judging of other cars, get in some chatting about incidents in the stewards chats.
Stewards are still catching up, by the way. So
absolutely, there'll definitely be some after race incidents put up here as we head back to our podium screen. Actually, we don't want this quite yet, do we? Because we need to see the names. We have P1 in the chat if you would like to vote for Moss. P2 for Krampf, P3 for Antti Maninka, P4 for Daniel Grundhofer, P5 for Zach Morgan, P6 for Tom Tweedy, P7 for Duncan Walker, P8 for Kalpesh Cloudry, P8 for Daniel Durrett, P9 for Gary Allen, P10 for Mark Durandus. And we're getting a lot of P3s and P1s coming in early. Antti Maninka and Ollie Moss are getting the shout out. So
the fan clubs are right there, mate.
Yep, keep throwing in your votes for these guys. And while I do some more typing and move my camera to the front, because I have an awkward camera setup, I apologise. Give us your rundown of how you feel that race went.
Well, it was over way too quickly, as you could hear by my enthusiastic commenting and my shock of seeing Ollie Moss slowing down, fearing he did not have enough fuel. So I don't know where time has gone. We saw a brilliant start. So it looked like all the drivers kind of remembered what happened in the first race when going down T1, and it looked like it would be a totally clean and nice race. But it all went kind of off the rails right there, and we had lots of incidents actually in the first, I think, 2 or even 3 laps. So the stewards had a lot of time, a lot of things to do to catch up with that, and great action. I mean, it looked like we would have a 3-way battle for P1 with Moskramp and Maninka, but very early pit stop from Maninka, and I think that was just a bit too early for him, as he was put down into the traffic of the mid pack. So I'm convinced he had the pace to fight for the win today. So amazing. I mean, there was so much going on. I don't know what to talk about right now. I'm just so hyped for my race tomorrow as well.
Absolutely, for sure. It was a good race. It was really fun. It felt a lot more like our endurance races that we've been commentate with so many cars there. Felt a bit like Super GT with all the back markers getting involved. Very hard to follow, but very fun. Here are your podium: Ollie Moss, Paul Krampft, and Antti Maninka. And Antti Maninka is your driver of the day for the second race.
Wow!
So a big shout out as I move his name fully onto screen. His brother, obviously, a huge crowd favourite always, so it's good to see him getting some love as well in the amateur split. And a very messy Friday safe day has not seemed to been as true this time as it was last, but we'll see which split is the clean split this time, or if any split can manage to be with such huge grids. Thank you for everyone who's been coming. It's been really cool to have so many people.
Absolutely, yes.
For those of you who are new, who came in, thank you for everyone who subbed, followed, and for our raid that we had earlier. Remember that you can check us out in our Discord. We have 2 more races coming on this weekend in the Championship Series, which are obviously already have their full grids set up. But only 4 weeks, and next year, after Christmas and New Year's, we'll be starting our 4th season. We are... No, we are definitely not doing top 3 for each split, Paul. We are...
no,
absolutely not. We are... We're doing. We will have community races on Wednesday, and we will have AC races coming back on Tuesday, with the next AC race being Fiat 500 Assetto Corsa cars in Assetto Corsa on a couple of British tracks. Why British tracks, you ask? Because it was originally going to be the Mini, but then we were asked if we could do some events in the Fiat 500, and we went, that's about the same car, let's go. So definitely come and join us in either of those races, and come tomorrow for watching Lars and Paul running the second race broadcast for the split that Bundesix will be in. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you tomorrow.
The line
Thank
then
you.
for the start of
Nice you.
the Championship season. ACC Sprint Series is green. He's in there at the moment. Murphy's going to lose 2 here. Oh, he's held it. He's done really well there. So Page has gone for Murphy then. He's gone on the inside of Abby onto Hanging Spray. So we're looking at Turner then as we go into Vale. Looks at the inside of Prandana, catches Prandana.
Oh.
Big spin. Oh, it's carnage. Oh, it's everyone. That's a whole grid.
Absolute mayhem there.
Absolute whole grid there. Who got through? Who was safe from that? I do not know who was safe from that. Goes to the inside, goes to dive, hasn't made the corner.
Back to 15th. Castrop just took a big lawnmower to that grass section at the end of Magus and Beckett's.
Down Uric in that Porsche. Looked for it, he's got a picture on him and he's looked for that, looked for the move on the inside.
Nice braking there from Broom, but not quite enough. Yang off of the pedal first, and much better acceleration down that straight. Even catching up to Porsche there, who looks like
he's done the Porsche's gone.
2 and 1. Honda is definitely got the overspeed. Dives to the inside.
Oh, that's a bit of a tap. Looked at the inside, he may have come out too early, and like you said, telegraphed it there, he has gone for the dive into Brooklyn. The 2 Porsches trying to gang up on the Lexus then. Urix goes, oh, he's caught it, he's caught the rear end of it. He's got the move of 3 wide. Turn of Prandana, riding then, as we go into Stowe. Doherty a little bit loose as he comes through, that was Magnus.
Oh, the Aston really pushed it there as well, he was fast and on the grass for the Macca.
Gets the job done on Allen as well. And
Bentley into the back of the Aston. Oh, there's been a crash! Doherty went straight into the back of Diggs and they both just got off. And he's just closed up just like he's been doing to everyone else. See if he makes the dive here.
That's the Martin breaking. You have to look for it. Oh, that's a sausage. That's a big old sausage there for Doherty. And he also picks up a time penalty for the incident with Diggs.
Oh, and talking about the opportunity, Graylish just threw his opportunity away. Might ruin that there. He's still on the inside, going towards Luffield. Right on that green bit, side by side into Luffield. Oh!
That has been so slow. Hughes is looking for it as well.
Well, didn't go for the dive, but he went wide and actually gets himself taken.
Like I said, it's all the way up the order.
Look at Brenning.
He's gone for it.
Brenning's getting another 1.
He's getting another 2.
Might get the other 2.
Oh. I think he's probably going to get out
pretty close. He's just about to cross the pit limiter line, so he can just start rolling, but he's real slow.
Oh, this is going to be tight there. Markovski's coming around T1. He's spun! He's spun!
Count to 0. I just wanna be a superhero. With fearless thoughts, emotions swirl out.